Thank you for listening to our podcast on YouTube. We are super excited about the content coming your way.
Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of it. Welcome to the Face to Face Ministries podcast. I'm Kathy Little.
And I'm Melinda Wilson, and we are talking all things inner healing, true connection with Jesus, and the full benefits package of the cross. Thank you for joining us.
Hey.
Episode 5.
How did that happen? That's awesome.
Amazing.
So exciting. And man, wow. Last episode was rich.
Very.
Dang.
Very rich.
So rich. And I'm excited because we're going to share a lot more from that interview with Dawna DeSilva. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time chatting about it right now. We just want to throw it right in there because, man, she's got some amazing truth that we just need to take a grip and just take a big old bite of because it's really good. So we're going to get right to our second clip from our interview with Dawna DeSilva, who is the co-founder of Bethel SOZO. Here we go.
What would you tell someone who is maybe on the fence about having an appointment and they're just afraid because they think, again, I think because I've heard this argument or this, really it's fear-based argument of this is New Age, it's, the enemy, how do I know that, let's say you're doing presenting Jesus and picture Jesus or however you put it. How do you allay those fears that like, oh, this is New Age and you're doing visualization? Yeah. Well, you are doing visualization, but it's not a New Age.
Yeah. Well, visualization is actually picture Jesus. He's going to take your hand. He's going to walk you down into the streams of living water. You're going to float with him for a while. That's visualization. But we have imagination. God gave us imagination. And so for me to say, close your eyes and picture Father God, tell me what you see. That's using your imagination. It's not, so you're telling me, and what's really fun is by what you tell me, tells me what our prayer needs to be. So visualization to me is emptying yourself and getting this, no, we're not emptying ourselves. We are actually inviting the Holy Spirit to come to give us information, to give us wisdom. So it can seem like a really fine line, but my mom is New Age, so it's nowhere near New Age. It's like, yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah. So I have heard that argument a lot, and that and the Jesus did it all at the cross, and it's hard to get people past that, and yet, like you're talking about, it's the fruit. I mean, if Jesus did it all, then why are you divorced 4 times or have these issues in your life where you're
fruit on the tree? But I would say to that, I look at inner healing deliverance ministries and like the variances of them as diets. And what diet works for me doesn't work for you. And so I said, so try and find the diet that works for you. So if SOZO works for you, then you need to do that. If counseling works for you, you need to do counseling. If any of the other inner healing ministries that are out there that are amazing, if they work for you, then that's the diet you need to do. But at the same time, I find that for me, I love SOZO. I think it should work 100% of the time. Obviously, I would love it, right? I should love it because it's what I do. It's what I teach around the world. But for me to sit here and tell you it's the only way to get free would be a religious spirit. So let's look at it on the other side. Oh, you just need to read the word. That's a religious spirit. For me to say it's just one way is a religious spirit. The only time we can get away with that is when we say Jesus is the way, the truth, and life. That is only one way to the Father, is through Jesus. But when we start getting out here with, oh, no, it was all done at the cross, and you don't need inner healing, and shame on you if you need inner healing, what happens? I've seen people almost suicidal by the time they get to us because they have believed that so much. They've thought, what's wrong with me? How come it's not working? God must not love me. And they come in nearly suicidal, and it's like, no, you should have come 2 years ago, and we could have helped you even better then. You wouldn't have gone through 2 years of help because you've come under a religious spirit. And it's hilarious that people that say the grace movement and it's so free are still partnering with a religious spirit.
Can you just expound on the religious spirit a bit more, because I know people will not have heard of that either. So what does that even mean?
Well, it's the Pharisees. The religious spirit always tries to kill off the prophetic. And so if you have a religious spirit, it will fight against the Holy Spirit. You'll have truth, but you won't have life in the truth. But what I think is so funny is there's lots of life in the grace movement, lots of life. But we still see it incorporated when you say, no, you can't get help a different way. Then it goes back to the Pharisees writing on the saying, no, this is the rules, this is the regulations.
Does every denomination and can every denominational background benefit from SOZO?
Yes, they can. I think the best situation is when the preacher actually is preaching inner healing, where he gets up and says, the thing that I don't want to do, I do, and the thing I want to do, I can't seem to do. Wretched man that I am, who can deliver me? And to just say, Paul struggled with an inner struggle, and he's an apostle of the faith. He's our apostle. He's the Gentile apostle, and even he was struggling. So praise be to God, Jesus Christ, who can set me free from this. So there is a struggle inside of us, and for us to stand up there and just pretend that it's all not a struggle is actually a lie from the pit. That, it's all good. It's all good. Well, he's all good, but this might not be all good.
Right. How much do you think that that's a pride issue, too? They don't want to be vulnerable with someone, maybe, or they don't want to... They've been a Christian for 30 years, or they're in a leadership position. I can't let anyone know.
I can understand why leaders wouldn't want to go to their own teams for a SOZO, but we are worldwide. So you don't have an excuse to not pop into, a city near you, or pop in through Skype or FaceTime and have someone walk through you. I can understand why the head leader might not want just a normal person on the SOZO volunteer team to know their stuff. Okay, because you don't know yet that this is confidential.
Yeah, I heard another healing prayer minister who's very prominent, who actually started a different modality, basically saying, I'm not going to quote him exactly, and I won't even say his name because I can't give the quote exactly, but he was saying basically that he doesn't even trust, like let's say it's a leader of a big church, he won't even trust that person if they aren't surrounded by people that they can be vulnerable with, that they can be authentic with, and that aren't pursuing their own healing. There's, like, because you were saying earlier that what you don't want to see happen is someone that gets to the top fall because they haven't dealt with this stuff before they've become in a place of high influence or high profile. And that really stuck with me. I heard this gentleman say it last year, and it's like, that is so true. Not that I can see into leaders' lives, but obviously there are many, because we see them fall. I mean, quite regularly, don't we? I mean, and it's sad. And sometimes I think they needed a SOZO, they needed to be in inner healing, they needed something, and I can imagine that it could be a pride issue with, and even if they went to someone that was totally anonymous, they're still having to be vulnerable, to be open and go, I'm totally messed up, I'm addicted to this, or I've got these habits. I can imagine that would be hard. Not only admitting stuff is real, that it's not new age, but that I have issues.
What's fun for SOZO is we can see you for the whole gamut. So you can say, I am so messed up. I'm a total mess. Great, come for SOZO. I'm doing really well, but there's this one issue. I just continue to see bad fruit. They wouldn't say it in those words. I'm like, come for SOZO. I'm doing really well. I don't really see any bad fruit, but I just feel disconnected from God. Like, everyone talks about God answers, and come for SOZO. We look at what the need is of the person coming in. And so even though we have a framework for SOZO, we don't have a line by line by line, so that we actually can tailor it to what the Holy Spirit is doing. So maybe this little disconnect is all you need to get back on life, and life abundant. And those are just people sobbing and sobbing when they hear the connection. And, you think, oh yeah, they were walking very well before, and they're going to walk even better afterwards. They weren't limping when they came in, but there was definitely a disconnect. So it can do the whole gamut.
So you're basically saying you don't have to be totally messed up and bleeding to death.
Yeah, please come before you're bleeding to death. I mean, come if you're bleeding to death as well.
It doesn't have to be a major addiction or, horrible secret hidden sin or something like that.
Yeah, and, we will your sin will come out in a sozo, but it's not our job to point at it. It's not our job to embarrass you. It's not our job to even rebuke you in the middle of it, because that's for the Lord to do. But as it comes out, then it is our job to help you heal in those areas. I was reading in Genesis, again, it was reminding me in Genesis 11:26-31, the story of Noah. And when he gets drunk and he plants a vineyard after the flood, and he gets drunk and he's uncovered, and one of his sons sees him uncovered and goes out and tells his brothers. And the brothers take the cloak and cover him, like walk backwards and cover him. And I feel like that's what inner healing and deliverance should be. Yeah, your nakedness will be exposed, but it's our job to cover you so that when you leave the room, you don't feel like you've been exposed. Even though you've told me maybe the most embarrassing situation. We had a woman in her 70s, late 70s, who was struggling with something, and she finally got down to it, and she had had an abortion in her 20s. And she said, I've never told a soul about this. And she's sobbing and sobbing and getting great freedom from self-hatred and bitterness. She was covered. So her nakedness was exposed, but the covering was covering her.
I think it's such a great point about her talking, mentioning that going in for sozo, for inner healing, is not about, oh, I'm going to show the world how horrible I am. That is totally not the point.
It's not the point
This
at all.
is, again, as we talked about in another episode, shining the light.
Right.
Exposure is not necessarily a bad thing.
That's right.
When it can bring and does bring healing, and in the context of a safe place like an inner healing ministry appointment.
Absolutely.
Exposure is good, it's needed, and it's safe.
Absolutely. It should be safe.
It should be safe.
And that is part of being trained and vetted. You don't just jump right into this. Typically, though, you know, it's interesting how people that pursue certain fields, like in psychology and stuff, usually are ones that have been through counseling and have needed help along the way. And with inner healing, I'm so passionate about it because I experienced it. I want other people to experience the same. I don't come to it from a place of, well, I've got my act together, and so I want to help you get your act together. It's, no, I've been where you are. I understand needing that.
Well, I have my act together, so let's just get that on the table right now. And if you believe that, then you need a sozo.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, we are coming from a place of, when you experience or try something or taste something or go to a restaurant and it is just the best thing you've ever experienced, the best burger you've ever had, you want to tell, at least I'm that way.
Yeah.
I will be an evangelist for a certain restaurant or a shoes or something that I think is phenomenal. I want other people to experience it simply because it is wonderful. Inner healing is so much more profound than a restaurant or shoes. And so because we have experienced such great depths of healing and freedom, wow, I want you to experience this too, as many people as possible.
Right. Well, and I think that if you come to the table thinking that you do have all your stuff together all the time. She was talking about the religious spirit earlier on. That religious spirit is so subtle and so dangerous, where you're thinking you've got it all together, and that was very much the Pharisees, and that's who Jesus spent time rebuking.
Yep, those are the only people he rebuked.
Yeah, that
really,
was it.
And they came across, as he called them, whitewashed walls and tombs there with dead men's bones, and so the appearance of them was really pretty. And how many of us know people or have even done that ourselves? Gone to church with masks. We go to church and, everyone looks happy and we have no idea that they're dying inside, their marriage is falling apart, that they're fighting with their children, that they're fighting drug addiction, whatever it is, because there's this expectation, I think, on us, unfortunately, a lot of the Western church and probably the church worldwide, that we have it all together. And yet that is exactly the opposite of what Jesus was about.
Yeah.
Authenticity, vulnerability, allowing him to shine the light on these places for healing. And
absolutely.
So, and that's the importance also of a safe community, being part of a family, a church family, or a family of believers where you can be yourself. and you don't have to hide behind anything.
And, it was interesting. She was talking too, again, about the whole diet thing. There are different tools and different modalities. There are different ways to get there. Find something that works. Don't be like the Pharisees and say, hey, I've got all my stuff together. But, hey, even if you're in a pretty good place, Jesus has more for you. How much pride do we have to think that we have all that we could ever get? I mean, that's just straight up a lie. But so many people settle for that. Isn't that crazy?
Well, and it is. And I think that too, once you've experienced something, it's kind of like, I can't believe I ever lived without this. It's kind of like a cell phone. How did we live 20 years ago without cell phone? Now that we have this technology, we literally couldn't live without it. We have to have it because it's revelation and revolution. And, with science and technology, as they discover and invent things, they are creating things that we can't live without. We didn't know yet that we can't live without it. But once we have it, and I'm talking about good things, obviously, once we have it, it's like, I'm not going to go back to a rotary phone. I can't carry around a 25-pound phone with me that, I have to call an operator to get connected. No, we're moving forward. And it's the same thing with the kingdom. It's the same thing with the Spirit of God. He is calling us from glory, transforming us from glory to glory into his likeness. He is continually revealing the heart of the Father. There's greater and greater revelation, which is also why I believe there are different inner healing modalities as different people get more revelation of the Father's heart, get more revelation of, oh, we can do healing this way. Oh, and that person's going to do healing that way. And a lot of it has to do, I believe, with how we're wired, our personalities. Sure. So I may be able to go to Dawna or someone like her and get really connected and get amazing healing in someone else who's like, it's not my style, but they pick someone else or a different inner healing modality, get the same results because it really doesn't matter because Jesus is after the same thing, and that's our hearts and that's wholeness.
Right.
But again, it's like once you get a taste of freedom, you never want to go back. So my challenge or encouragement or exhortation to any of you who've never had an opportunity for an inner healing prayer appointment is to try it.
Yeah.
Just try it and see what happens.
I have a feeling if people take you up on that, they're going to be amazed. Because that's one guarantee we have is that Jesus, as Emmanuel, is with us all the time. And he is always about bringing us to the next level. And the whole purpose of that is becoming more like him.
Absolutely.
We can't be like him if we've got these things going on. And I love that Dawna was saying you don't have to be like at a crisis or totally messed up. You can be doing cool, you're okay, but maybe there's a button that gets pushed. And a lot of times those people that we're in closest relationship with, they're the ones that push the buttons. I mean, I've never pushed your buttons,
never.
have I? Never.
Never. Forgive me, Jesus, for lying.
Oh man, but it is so true that even if it's some little niggly thing that you can pretty well manage, getting the light flipped on and understanding, even when it's a small thing, before it gets big and before, I mean, man, I told you in my story a couple episodes ago about this major epic crash and burn. I didn't just all of a sudden have
Didn't happen in a vacuum.
It didn't. There were choices and things that were happening along the way that I was not aware of and I was not paying attention to, or I blatantly ignored. I bet a lot of us do that because we're so intent on behavior managing.
Yeah.
Well, stop drinking.
Just stop it.
Just stop doing it. Just stop doing it. And that old
Bob Newhart.
Yeah, Bob Newhart
Just
thing.
stop it.
Just stop it. It's not that simple because it's exhausting. If you have to keep managing the same thing, rearing its ugly head repeatedly, it's exhausting. And that's not abundant life. That's not part of the benefits package. The benefits package of the cross is to not have to live your life being triggered, being tripped up, falling back into the same patterns, because you're dealing with the root and you're allowing Jesus to expose it to the light and bring healing and wholeness to that.
And how about just a deeper revelation? I shouldn't say just. This is truly significant and life-changing. How about experiencing a deeper revelation of the Father's heart?
Yeah.
I know that I need way more.
Hello.
I mean, I've experienced a lot, but who has ever gotten to the end of the love of God for us.
Yeah.
I think that if I said who wants to experience more of God's love, if you're not raising your hand, then something's wrong.
Exactly.
And, really, because we need it.
Absolutely.
So even if you don't feel like, oh, I've got an issue, experience it to experience Him.
Yes.
That's really what
That's
really what it's about, is experiencing Him.
Absolutely. And that is our hope and prayer for everyone who's listening, for everyone that we come in contact with. I mean, seriously, that's what it's about. To experience Him and to have more of Him. To understand what it means to be seated with Him in heavenly places. In a present tense. Like, what does that mean? To be with Him and have Christ in us. The hope of glory. I mean, come on. That's amazing. Well, hey, we're going to wrap up this episode. There's so much more to come. So much more. Thanks so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you for coming along. And again, comment, drop us a line, drop us a question, and even a question that you would like answered, or a question that has arisen from listening to the interviews or us talking. If you have any questions or comments, please chime in. We'd love, love, love to hear from you.
Be awesome. Yeah, you can do that by emailing us, info@face2faceministries.org. You can find us on Instagram. Follow us there. It's face2facemin. You can DM us there. Find us on Facebook, face2faceministries.org. And hey, subscribe.
Yes.
Subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating.
Like it.
Share it.
Yep.
I mean, come on, help us get the word out. Help us get the word out. That is the mandate on us as a ministry, and that's what we're all about. That's what this is about. And hey, if you like what you're hearing and you want to put a little skin in the game to help it go forward, visit us at face2faceministries.org/give. Support the podcast financially. And hey, we can't do this without you. I mean, hey, these interviews we're going after, that's a big ticket item because we go face to face with these people. So absolutely, we invite you to partner with us. Help us get the word out. It's time. It is time. He wants his church healthy. I mean, who wants to come back for a messy, dirty bride who's just all broken in a puddle? I mean, that's what he's doing now, is he's healing his church.
Let's do this with him.
Yeah, we get to be part of that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much
thanks
for joining
for
with us today. And we look forward to
our next episode.
Connecting with you next time.
Yeah. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. For more information about us and our vision, please go to face2faceministries.org. That's faceministries.org.
Please like, share, subscribe, rate, review. Help us get the word out. There is so much more to come.